So my topic today is the 90-day game plan. So the 90-day game plan. And I want you to look at this from this perspective of an executive team leader. So if you are not yet an executive team leader, what would I recommend? Do not sleep until you're executive team leader. Once you're executive team leader, then I am going to train you right now on exactly what I would do to help new groups and new people start in their 90-day game plans. Is that fair? Does that make sense to everybody? And keep in mind, this business is so simple. What I see the difference between teams that are functioning at a high level with lots of production and teams that are mediocre is that the mediocre teams make things so complicated. This business is designed to be short and simple. So let's talk about, there's two big facets of the 90-day game plan. And what's the key of the 90-day game plan? It's to create momentum. Write down, I will create momentum. I will create momentum. And what is momentum? Well, who here has ever been in a car that's run out of petrol? So what happens? So the car runs out, it's dead, and let's say you actually have to push that car maybe 50, 100 meters to a petrol station. And let's say that somebody else is steering and you're behind the car. And when you get the car going, it's so hard just to get the car going. I mean, sometimes you actually have to rock back and forth, and you get in a step, and another step, and another step. And once the car is moving, it's a lot easier to keep it moving than it was to get it going. Who knows what I'm talking about? So here's a question. That's momentum. Here's a question. How would you like to have so many customers and so many independent business owners joining your team that you couldn't stop the momentum if you tried? Who'd like to have that problem? It's kind of like a car going and then going downhill with no brakes. That's what you can create if you master momentum. So 90-day game plan. Let's say a group of brand new people join your team. What do you do to put them on the 90-day game plan? And by the way, who's the director of the 90-day game plan? For anybody? Is it the new person or is it you? It's your responsibility. Write this down. I am the leader. I am the leader. Every person who joins your team, you are the leader. You, by your actions, will direct them in the way that it's most efficient for them to have success. Does that make sense? Okay, so the 5-day rule. Write down the 5-day rule. What is this? The 5-day rule is basically fast qualifications. And let's talk about qualifications here for a second. How many days do people have to get qualified in order for bonuses to be paid out? 30 days. I very much dislike that 30-day qualification. Why? Why do I dislike that qualification? Because the message it sends to everybody is that it doesn't matter whether somebody qualifies in 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 29 or 30 days. As long as somebody qualifies, it's okay. Well, guess what? It's not okay. Let me tell you about the two types of teams and how they operate. So there's one team, let's say that let's say that my team, in theory, average time of qualifications. What's the average qualification time in ACN, Asia Pacific? Between 21 and 25 days. By the way, how long does qualification take? How many minutes sitting down with somebody? 60 minutes, 90 minutes? So the average qualification takes 21 to 25 days. So here's what happens. Let's say that a new group of people get started, and they're excited. And then it takes, let's say, 1, 2, 3 weeks in order to get these people qualified, for the qualifications to appear. What happens when people qualify? Is there excitement generated? Yes, they've had some success. And what's generated that makes the whole team excited? Money, customer acquisition bonuses for people getting their customers. And then people get excited. They put in a few new people, a new group, but then it takes 3 weeks plus 3.5 weeks for them to get qualified. So then you have another cycle. People get qualified, people get excited, new people join, and then all the way over here. Are people excited here in general or not? No, because it's so slow. It is painful. Painfully slow. Remember the trick to excitement. When are people most excited in ACN? On day one, they're at 100%. And then 24 hours later, where are they? 50%. And this is the average person. 24 hours later after that, 25%, 12.5%, 6.25%, 3.125%. After a week, if somebody hasn't had quick success, for the average person, their excitement decreases significantly. Now, it's different for leaders, and everybody here, most everyone here is a leader. And you've got the gift of keeping your excitement more even keel over time. But we only have a little window of time for brand new people during which we can capitalize on their excitement. Does that make sense? So let's take your team. Here's what I'd like your team to look like. Let's say the average qualification time in your team was 5 to 7 days. So it was 1 week. So what happens? You've got a new group of people who join the team. And it's only a week before everybody gets qualified. There's excitement because people have had success. People have gotten their customers. Money's paid out. People get excited, and a new group joins. And it goes through the process. A week later, new group joins. New group, new group, new group. And in the same period of time, instead of going through the cycle 4 times, you go through it 12 to 15 times with everybody having quick success and a lot of action on their teams. Who sees that this can have a profound difference? So what's exactly the 5-day rule? The 5-day rule is helping 50% of the new people in your open line business get qualified in the system within 5 days. So once again, at least 50% of the new open line people get qualified in the system within 5 days. And what's open line for those of you who don't know? If you're an ETT, open line is everybody who joins your team, not underneath another ETT. If you're executive team leader, that means all the people who join your team, not underneath another executive team leader. Is that clear? Is that simple? All right. So this fast qualification is so important. And there's so few teams that really focus on this. How long did we say that it takes in order to get somebody qualified? 90 minutes maybe at the most in Australia and in New Zealand. So what excuse is there really not to help somebody qualify quickly? By the way, is it easier to help somebody get qualified right when they start or on day 29? Right when they start. By the way, whose responsibility is it to help the new person qualify? Let's say that there's a new person here, and there's a team trainer, and then a QTT, an ETT, ETL, team coordinator. Who says it's the ETT's responsibility to help somebody and a brand new person qualify? Who says that? Who says it's the ETL's responsibility? Who says it's the TC's responsibility with all that potential cab money? How about RD? What's the answer? It's not everybody's responsibility. Whose responsibility is it? It's your responsibility, whichever position you are in the line. Who's got the greatest vested interest in your own success? It's you. So write this down. I will take responsibility for my qualifications. I will take responsibility for my qualifications. Who would like to have an ETL? Who would like to be an ETL and have 20 people qualify open line in a month? Who thinks that'd be good? So let's say that you had no help whatsoever. It was totally up to you to get all 20 of these people qualified. How many hours is that? How many hours? Over 1 month, it's 30 hours. It's just 1 hour per day. Is that reasonable or not reasonable? That's reasonable. You know, I was talking to some leaders in Mexico the other day. We were talking about leadership. Is leadership given or is leadership taken? Leadership is taken. Leaders never sit back and wait for things to happen. Leaders make things happen. Write down, I will make things happen. So it's up to you to take responsibility for your qualifications. It's up to you to make this happen. If you can make this happen in terms of the 5-day rule, it's crazy what can happen. And by the way, we're talking about 5 days in the system as QTT. Not, oh, well, you know what? This customer is on hold. This customer hasn't go through it. It takes a couple more days for this type of customer. If you can get 50% of your qualified or your team trainers qualified within 5 days, your overall average will probably be 7 to 10 days, and you will be in business. You will have so much momentum. Guess how many teams in Australia and New Zealand have this going on right now? Fewer than 5%. Is that exciting? Why is that exciting to me? It is exciting. The potential is enormous. If this is your potential, most everybody in qualifications is working right around here, not prioritizing qualifications. And I'm telling you, after a home presentation, after you sign somebody up, after a weekly meeting or a Saturday training, those next hour to 2 hours are golden. You should be sitting with people, getting them in the system through your wireless internet, signing them up for YBA, and immediately seeing how many people you can get qualified. On the spot. On the spot qualifications are invaluable. If you have a team that duplicates that out, it's amazing. But it all starts with who? Who's it start with? You. So that's one part of the 90-day game plan. So 90-day game plan, as much focus as you can in a new group, going through as many of these cycles as you can because you're focused on fast qualifications. Second, part 2 is building a home presentation machine. And I'm telling you, this is so simple. Who would like to, right now, what's the average number of people who show up at a home presentation? 4, that's the average. That's the average. Most people just hope as they drive to their home presentations they're doing, I hope there's a lot of people who will show up tonight. Who determines how, let's say you have a new person on your team. Let's say your new person's Patrick. How do you Who is it that will determine how many people show up at Patrick's home presentation? Who's got the most influence? Is it Patrick? No. Who is it? It's you. How do you make it such that your average is 10 or 15 or 20 people? Who would like to have an average of 15 people show up to your home presentations? Who'd like to have an average of that? Here's all you do. Let's say Patrick joins the team. You help Patrick get qualified quickly. Patrick sets his home presentation for 4 days out. You spend time making phone calls with Patrick. That's all you do. Do you know how many people do the opposite in this business? And it goes for both qualifications and for making phone calls and being with somebody when they invite. What if I were a few years ago teaching Tiffany how to ride a bike? And what if I told her, all right, I showed her some videos, I coached her really well, I had some great training. I said, okay, Daddy's gonna be gone today, but here's the bike. And when I come back, I want to see you be able to at least ride the bike decently well. Good luck. What's going to happen to Tiffany? What would have happened to Tiffany? So there's a couple different outcomes here. Number one, either she was so scared that she wouldn't even try, and she'd get all upset. Or number two, she'd try, most likely she'd fall, and since there was no one there, since I wouldn't be there to help her at her time of need, she would have PTSD and she wouldn't want to be on that bicycle for the next year. Who understands this to be true? So one of the greatest faults for all of us when we have a brand new person or a brand new group is not taking responsibility and being there. We need to be there and help people get qualified. We need to be there and make the phone calls with someone. We don't actually make the calls. We sit there, we role play, and then we listen to the calls in terms of customer acquisition, in terms of inviting. We fine tune, and then they have 5 people invited, they have 10 people invited, 15. At some point they'll say, I got it, that's great. You have done exactly what you need to do. See how simple this is? But it's all about being what? Being a great coach. Write that down. I will be a great coach. Now, I've trained this for years and years. Guess how many people actually do this? Not a ton of people. And it doesn't take too much time. Do we have enough time to be able to do all these qualifications and do these presentations and to make calls for home presentations? Yes or no? Do we have the time? Yes or no? Yes. How many hours are there in a week? 168 hours in a week. Let's say we work at our jobs 40 hours a week, right? Let's say that we sleep 8 hours a night, which very few people do. But if you take away 40 and 56, you're left with 72 hours a week where you can do ACN. Who thinks that 10 hours a day is enough time to be able to take responsibility for your qualifications and to create a home presentation machine by making phone calls? Because here's what happens. All you need is one home presentation that has 10 to 15 people. Let's say your home presentation with Patrick has 15 people. Excitement's created, people sign up, and guess what's implanted into their subconscious? Well, I'm going to have a home presentation. How many people should I have? I should have 15. If somebody's in a home presentation where there's 4 people, they're thinking I need to have 4. So let's say you have a home presentation of 15, 3 people start. They're thinking that they need to have home presentations of 15 people. You sit down with them, you make the calls. All of a sudden, 45 total people over 3 presentations, 9 new people sign up, 9 people have home presentations, 10, 15, 20 people, and you're in business. Do you realize this 90-day game plan for a group for you can go from almost nothing, it can go from 0 to hundreds and hundreds of people. I implemented this in Texas. I went from 30 people in month 1 to 170 people in month 2 to 450 people in month 3 to over 1,000 in month 4. Who'd like to have a group like that? I've done that in varying degrees, multiple groups, but all you have to do is just keep it simple. And it's not about working harder. We talk about this all the time in presentations. It's not about working harder, it's about working. Well, that's not just about to get involved in ACN. Once you're in ACN, efficiency is everything. What are you doing with your time? Are you working efficiently or are you working inefficiently? So focusing on the 90-day game plan, focusing on these 2 facets, if you can do that, you will have a machine. And guess what happens in the 90-day game plan? If you focus on these 2 things, you have a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of money quickly. Everybody's getting customers. People are getting qualified. Bonuses are being released. People are hitting positions. You know, we're not going to talk about the 80-80 rule, focusing all of this in one line. But if you can just master this at a very simple level, just those 2 facets, that would be fantastic. By the way, who here has ever gotten qualified? Who's gotten qualified once in your career? If you can get qualified, are you able to sit down with somebody and help them qualify, yes or no? Of course. So anybody can do this. Once you start giving presentations, can you sit down with somebody? Even before that, can you sit down with somebody and help them make phone calls to invite, helping them keeping it short, 2 to 3 minutes, following the language as recommended by your team? Who can do this? Then there's nothing stopping you from building a team from 0 to 100, 200, 300 independent business owners in 90 days.